So you're getting started in triathlon and you've heard from other people that you need to spend thousands of dollars on an awesome bike and all this other equipment, and you're thinking, wow, I don't know if I have the money to get into this sport. Well, never fear. Today we'll be talking about the 5 things that you actually need to buy before your first race and the 5 things that you don't need to worry about. Let's make sure that we keep as much hard-earned cash in our pockets as possible and only spend money on the equipment we actually need. Let's get started. Welcome back to Racing with Ray, where each week I drop a video on running, biking, or other fitness trends. So if that sounds cool to you, be sure to hit subscribe below so that you don't miss anything. Now, out of the 5 things that you absolutely do need for your first race, the most obvious one is a road bike. Now, you may have a bike on hand, and you can probably use whatever you have in your garage. That's fine. But before I first started, I only had a mountain bike, and obviously the tires are a little bit different than the thinner tires of a road bike. And I decided that I did need to purchase a road bike before the race because they honestly do move faster. You don't have to spend a ton of money on a road bike, though. You can go to a store and get a low-end one for maybe $500 to $800. But even better would be to check Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and get a second-hand bike. You can spend a lot less money. My friends even got one for $200, and it was a lot better quality than the bike that I got at the store. So be sure to shop around and try to get the best deal possible, because you don't need an amazing carbon fiber bike when you're first getting started. Just be sure to get something simple that will work well for you. Now, the second thing you want to think about buying is clothing. Each sport, the swim, the bike, and the run, needs a slightly different type of clothing. If you wear a normal swimsuit in the swim, you might have to change into bike shorts to go on the bike, and then you may not want that thick of padding when you go for the run. So I think it's a lot simpler to invest in an inexpensive triathlon suit, like the one I have on now. So these come in a couple different types. Mine has no sleeves because I wanted to be able to move my arms as I normally would in the pool without having to worry about sleeves. But they have those as well, and the sleeves might help to avoid sunburn. Now, the material here is made out of something light that dries quickly, and that's incredibly important when you're coming out of the swim. But there's also some benefits when you go into the bike ride. So you do have a little bit of extra padding back here so that when you sit on the bike seat, you won't be too uncomfortable. But the triathlon suits tend to have less padding than an actual pair of bike shorts would, because you also need to go straight into the run after that. And running with a lot of padding back there can be a little weird. And so the triathlon suit strikes the perfect balance between something you need for the swim, what you need for the bike, and what you need for the run. And you won't have to be taking off clothing and putting on new clothing during transition, saving valuable time. So I definitely recommend finding some kind of tri-suit. Don't spend a ton of money on it, but just see what works for you. The next thing you'll need for your first triathlon is a nice pair of running shoes. You don't need 5 different types of running shoes to prepare for your first event. You could get a second pair if you're going to be doing a lot of mileage and want to switch off between the two if you're running multiple days in a row. But really just something that's comfortable. So if you like running with less padding, get something like that. If you need a little bit more support, be sure to get more support in that one pair of running shoes that you really invest in. After that, you want to make sure you have some kind of helmet and also some bike tools, just in case you get a flat while you're out there. Now, you can get a toolkit like this and strap it below your seat on your bike. Now, the main thing in one of these tool cases is the extra tube. And so you'll need to inflate this and stick it in your tire if you get a flat. You also have a couple levers like this, which will be really useful for getting your tire on and off when you're replacing the tube. So be sure that when you're going out there for your first race, you have the things on hand just in case something goes wrong. The 5th thing I would recommend that you purchase before your first triathlon is a race belt. So this is very useful so that you don't have to take your race bib and pin it onto yourself after you get out of the water. Instead, you have it on the race belt already, and you can simply unbuckle that, wrap it around your waist, and buckle it again. It saves a lot of time and headache during the transition, and they're really not that expensive. So I'd recommend getting one of those. So we've talked about the 5 things you do need for your first triathlon. What about the 5 things that you do not need right now? Item number 1 is a triathlon bike. We talked about how you do probably want to pick up a road bike, but a triathlon bike is significantly higher tech and technically helps you race better, but you don't need it when you're first starting out. Second thing you don't need is aero bars. These are something that you can clip onto the front of your bike and they put you in a very aerodynamic position like this. But you don't need it when you're first starting out. Your speed is mainly impacted by how much time you practice on the bike. The third thing you don't need is an aero helmet. They have these crazy looking helmets that are very aerodynamic and they stretch out like this. But you don't need one when you're first starting out because they won't make that much of a difference in your race time. The fourth thing I don't think you need is bike shoes. You can buy specialized shoes that clip into clip-on pedals on your bike, and technically this helps you to be more efficient as you're pedaling. But my first triathlon I did in running shoes, and this was kind of convenient because I didn't need to switch shoes when I got off the bike and started the run. And I think that's all you need to start off. Don't worry about learning how to clip in, and you don't need to spend the extra money right now. And the final thing that I don't think you necessarily need right now is a wetsuit. Now this will depend on where you live and during what season you're actually running your race and doing your training. I live in Florida, where it's quite warm for most of the year. And there are certain races during certain times of year that won't even allow you to wear a wetsuit because the water is too warm. And so for those types of races, it would be entirely useless to invest in a wetsuit. All you really need is your tri-suit. But be sure you look into what the rules are for the specific race you're running and think about what types of bodies of water you'll be practicing in before the race. And this will help to determine whether you need a wetsuit or whether you don't. And there you have it, the 5 things you need for your first triathlon and the 5 things you don't. Now it's time to get out there and do your best in training. This is going to be a great ride. Hey guys, if you got value out of this video, be sure to press like down below and also subscribe for more tips and tools on how to improve your personal best every day. Bye guys.